What separates the people who take action immediately from the ones who keep waiting?
We live in a world right now where people are looking at validation.
When someone says, I'm just waiting for the right moment, what are they really trying to say?
It's procrastination. It's fear. It's fear of failure.
Where do you see people hesitate the most when it comes to chasing what they want?
We live in a world where there's social media, where people are looking at the results of hard work. And I think that not too often is the story of the journey is being told. What you need to have is the ability to just do it.
Take me to a moment when you realized you weren't going to wait your turn anymore.
It's do or die. I mean, I knew I belonged. I knew that I could make this a success. If I put the work in, I was going to get the results. I had to be focused on what I needed to get done. Because if I tend to gaze at someone else, then I'm inviting them to join me on the podium. If you're not celebrated in the circle, leave that circle.
So what is the first step someone should take if they want to pursue their goal right now?
If you're not achieving the goals that you want to achieve today, what is your excuse?
Donovan Bailey is a Canadian sprinting legend who electrified the world with Olympic gold and a 100 meters world record, and today works as an entrepreneur, speaker, and mentor, advising businesses, supporting youth initiatives, and occasionally appearing as a sports commentator.
Everyone wants to be great. Few people are willing to live like it. Because greatness isn't built in the moments you win. It's built in the moments when no one's watching. No one is clapping, and no one is picking you. And most people, they don't fail because they're not talented. They fail because they wait. They wait for the right time. They wait for permission. They wait to be chosen. Donovan Bailey, you didn't wait. You built yourself into the fastest man in the world and then backed it up on the biggest stage possible. Let me start here. What separates the people who take action immediately from the ones who keep waiting and never get there?
I guess the ability to have ambition. That's one. I think that also taking a chance. And we always talk about people who create opportunities for themselves. And I think that I've always been a curious kid. I'm not a kid anymore, but I think as a kid I was quite curious. So I think that taking chances, trying new things, meeting new people, being in new spaces, that allowed me to fail. And I think that most times people who are highly successful, the story is never around the many things that they tried and weren't very good at or failed at it and realized it wasn't for them. But yeah, to your question, I think that it's certainly what separates us is those people who are fearless in attempting something, doing something, being someplace, that allow them to try new things, see new people, be in new spaces.
So where do you see people hesitate the most when it comes to chasing what they want?
I think that we live in a world right now where people are looking at validation. They're looking at they also we live in a world where there's social media, where people are looking at the results of hard work, and I think that not too often is the story of the journey is being told. So most people are looking at the results of what they get if they do something because of how it's being marketed to them. So I think that I think validation. There's a lot of people looking at that because they're desperately seeking validation.
When someone says, I'm just waiting for the right moment, what are they really trying to say?
Well, it's procrastination. It's fear. It's fear of failure. It's all of those things. Ultimately, if we're living, breathing today is the time. This morning is the time. This afternoon is the time to attempt to do that thing, and whatever that thing is. I mean, I do some corporate training with some of the most successful CEOs in the world, and I think that the characteristics that build them is the same that build me. So it's again taking a chance, and sometimes it's not. If you're building out something, you don't necessarily need to wait for the product to be perfect. I mean, when I started my journey to be the greatest sprinter on earth, I wasn't the best guy on the first day. I didn't have the greatest technique. I didn't understand what nutrition, weight training, I didn't understand any of these things. And I think most people don't understand that you do not have to have perfection on day one. What you need to have is the ability to just do it.
I appreciate you sharing that. Alchemists, welcome. Today's guest is Donovan Bailey. He's an Olympic gold medalist, world champion, and former world record holder, widely recognized as one of the greatest sprinters of all time. He's the first athlete in history to simultaneously hold Olympic, world championship, and world record titles, and the only individual inducted twice into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame. But beyond sport, he's a businessman, entrepreneur, and someone who understands what it actually takes to perform, decide, and execute at a high level. And today, we're going to go beyond the medals. Donovan Bailey, thank you so much for joining me on the Elemental Educator podcast today.
Thanks for having me, man.
We're going to jump in to our first segment. We've got 4 elemental segments, so let's dive in to Grounded Moments.
3, 2, 1.
Follow your passion. Be prepared to work hard and sacrifice. And above all, don't let anyone limit your dreams. When did that stop being a nice idea and start to become real for you?
Wow. Maybe in all of my stories and my life, I always talk about the solid foundation that my parents prepared me for. I think I was prepared to be successful in anything that I did, and so I was always taught as a child that whatever commitment I made, I have to see through to the end. So it probably started as a child. Definitely started as a child. Started in the classroom. I started just in maybe pee-wee sports. So whether it was basketball or track and field or even piano, which I hated as a kid, but I saw it through. I saw it through the season, and and I was terrible at the end, but I also understood what discipline and commitment was.
Where do people misunderstand what it takes to protect their dream?
Wow, that's a pretty good question. I think that, I said it earlier. I think that people spend a whole lot of time listening to noise. People spend a whole lot of time listening to people that cannot motivate them. And ultimately for me, personally, if I'm not going to go to you for advice, then I'm certainly not going to listen to your criticism. And I think people spend a whole lot of time trying to understand the differences between both.
It's a really good way to put it. Who or what tried to limit you, and how did you respond?
Oh, again, the politics of sports, the system, teams, coaches, maybe teachers, who knows? Ultimately, there's always someone there that's trying to dim your light. And I tell this to kids all the time. There's always someone there. If you do spend a whole lot of time listening to those people, then your success is only limited to their opinion. Ultimately, understand what it is that what your dream is. Align yourself with the people that are cheering for you. If you're not celebrated in a circle, leave that circle. You can leave gracefully, or you can just exit. You know what I mean? So I think those are the things these are fundamental things that if I'm preaching it, then I have to live it.
Totally agree. And the last few people I've interviewed, the difference between them being successful and not was choosing not to listen to the noise, right? They blocked it all out and they moved themselves forward.
Amen.
Donovan Bailey, we're going to jump into a little game here. It's called principle or preference. I'm going to read a statement to you, and you just have to tell me if it's a principle, meaning everybody in the world should be adopting this, or if it's just preference, meaning it's okay if not everyone takes it on. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Right on. It's rapid fire, no time for explanations. Principle or preference, talent matters more than work ethic.
Oh, principle.
Sacrifice is required for greatness.
Principle.
You should wait your turn before chasing opportunities.
Preference.
Confidence comes before results.
Ooh. Preference.
You need the right environment to succeed.
Principle.
Discipline beats motivation.
Ooh, man. I don't know. Yeah. We'll go with preference on that one.
We'll come back to it too.
I mean,
You
I pick
can,
both. I mean, anyways, go ahead.
you can succeed without a strong support system.
Ooh. Principle.
Pressure is something to avoid.
Oh, never.
Yeah, never. We don't even have to
yeah.
say preference for it.
Yeah.
Consistency matters more than intensity.
Ooh. Principle.
And external validation tells you you're on the right path.
Preference.
So let's come back to discipline and motivation, because both of those are very driving factors towards how successful somebody might be. What is the difference for you between discipline and motivation?
Well, listen, I think that the difference, I mean, I think that there are a lot of people that are motivated for the wrong reasons in anything that they're attempting to do. However, you require discipline in order to be successful. You'd require discipline in order to eat, sleep, dream, breathe, surround yourself, ignore people, ignore noise, to get there. So I think that there are a lot of times that the motivation factor, the motivation, see, what I do is I compare maybe how society has evolved over the years. I see how it is. Back in the day, it was just maybe you saw material things that's in front of you, but also didn't have a media sphere that was shoving it in your face. And then today, there's people living their greatest life, but it's not their life at all, because what they're doing is trying to market that to you.
Take me to a moment when you realized you weren't going to wait your turn anymore.
Wow. Well, I think the one that the one that, I mean, obviously sport is the one that people would be familiar with. I had attempted to make our national team, to make the national team that was competing. I was part of the national team, and I knew I was better than all the other athletes that were there. But I also recognized that I had not had the discipline, or I did not put the work in to show the results of how good I was. And so that was, many years ago, but 1994, when I was not selected to represent Canada at the Commonwealth Games. And, I decided that year that I was going to leave. I was going to go and meet with Dan Paff, who was my coach at Louisiana State University. I was going to leave Canada. And that year I was having my first child. I just bought a house. Everything was up in the air. And I'm like, it's do or die. I mean, I knew I belonged. I knew that I could make this a success. My coach was solidly supportive of me. My dad wasn't so much at the start, but he didn't really understand what I was attempting to do. and that's kind of like what parents are supposed to do anyways.
Mhm.
But I knew I belonged. I knew that if I put the work in, I was going to get the results. And so um, I did put the work in. I left Canada in March of 1994, and by June I was one of the top sprinters. I was one of the top sprinters in the world, on my way to being the greatest I'd ever lived.
What did that experience teach you about control versus external factors?
Well, it taught me that first of all, if I don't put the work in, I'm not going to get the results that I desired. It taught me that I had to surround myself with the right people, and I had to be in the right environment. So it's kind of in line with what we spoke about earlier.
Mhm.
It also taught me, again, and I'll repeat it, that I didn't need validation for anyone if I'm successful and I surround myself with the right people. And it also taught me that the noise that was there, it held no validation to what my success was going to be.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I hope people listening are pulling some motivation themselves from this as well, because I'm ready to be motivated here. And when this is done, I'll be starting my workout for the day too. I'm getting fired up listening to this.
Perfect.
Donovan Bailey, we're going to play our next game to wrap up our Earth segment. What I want you to do is think of the first job that you've ever had, but don't tell me it. And I'm going to take 2 minutes to try to guess your very first job.
Okay.
Do you have that first job in mind?
I do. I mean,
All right.
I only have one first job. So
there we go. There we go. That's true. We've only ever had one first job. Okay. 2 minutes starts now. How old were you when you had this first job?
13.
You were 13. Okay. Was it a seasonal job?
Yes.
Was it outside?
Yes.
Was it summer or winter?
Summer.
It was summer. Okay. Did it involve landscaping?
It did not.
Okay. Did it involve paper routes?
It did not.
Okay. Outside, summer, not landscaping, not paper routes. Were you serving customers?
No.
No. Okay. So you were working for somebody.
Yes, I was working. Yes, I definitely was working for somebody. Yes.
Okay. Was it labor intensive?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Did you have to wear a uniform?
I had to wear a shirt. Yes, I had to wear their shirt.
Okay. Was it like a franchise or a local business?
Definitely not a franchise.
Definitely not a franchise. So something smaller, something small, maybe single business. In the summer, no uniform. Minimum wage, I'm assuming?
Oh, for sure.
Minimum wage.
Yeah.
Minimum of the minimum wages. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Were you selling like a product?
I was not.
You were not. Okay. So different service you were offering. Did it involve water?
Did it involve water? Yes, there was water on site for sure. Yeah.
Water on site for sure. So you weren't a lifeguard.
There's
what we're saying.
Around. But I wasn't selling water. No.
Okay. Were you cleaning it and maintaining it?
I was not.
No. Okay. Were you using it to help things grow?
I was not.
Okay. I've got 5 seconds left.
Water played no role in my daily.
Oh, then okay. And there we go. But
so let me help you out. Let me push you along.
There we go. That is my 2-minute timer, Donovan. So you can tell me your first job, or you can choose not to.
I was a camp counselor.
A camp counselor. Okay. Well, water was crucial. You had to keep people alive by giving them some. So,
yes. But it definitely wasn't my job to hydrate them. It was.
No, you're right.
At 13, I was guiding and leading kids, probably slightly younger than me, actually. So that's my first. That's my first foray into leadership and roles and teaching and discipline and all of that. So, but I was a camp counselor. Yes, indeed. Summer camp counselor.
What did your job as a camp counselor teach you about discipline and responsibility?
Oh man. Well, first of all, I mean, again, I talk about my parents quite a bit, and there's an infrastructure that I grew up in that was meant to have me be successful. So
Mhm.
as a camp counselor, it taught me all those things. I mean, it taught me. It actually it taught me at a very young age what my ultimate skill set was. It taught me that I didn't have a whole lot of patience and tolerance for nonsense if I'm given a task and I have a timeline to get those things done. So it's certainly understanding um, um, and utilizing people's strengths and their weaknesses, but also understanding the roles that those very same people play within that system. The same thing I use for the relay team. It's the same thing. Whether they liked my leadership style or not, we were very successful. And our team was, and our team in camp back when I was 13, were very good. We certainly had tasks as a team that were competing against other teams to do things, and my team was usually pretty successful.
There we go. Thank you so much for sharing. We're going to wrap up our Earth segment on grounded moments and jump into air and headwinds and tailwinds. And a new elemental segment means a new game. This one is called the hot seat, where I'm going to give you a scenario, and with a few words as possible, I just want your first move to what somebody or you would do in that setting. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So you interview for a job and you don't get selected. What would be your next move?
My next move would always to be to reassess what it is that I did and see if I made a mistake and I correct that.
You're working hard, but not seeing results yet. Where should you take it?
Ooh, someone who I value their opinion. I would ask for some constructive criticism.
Someone tells you, you know what, let's go with somebody that you value their opinion on, tells you your goals are unrealistic.
Uh-huh.
What would you do?
What would I do?
Or say?
What would I do or say if someone tells me that I value their opinion, that my goals are unrealistic? I'm very stubborn. So
Mhm.
I think that obviously I would reassess what it is that I'm attempting to do and figure out another way in which to get those goals.
And you realize you're in an environment that's limiting your growth. What would you
I
do?
move from that environment. I mean that I practice what I preach. So yes, if you're not being celebrated and respected in any environment that you're in, then find that place. We live in an incredibly huge world. So if you're definitely not being respected and celebrated and being cheered on to get the goals that you want to, then you probably need to get the hell out of that environment.
You mentioned having to wait your turn and not being selected. What did it feel like in that moment to you?
When I got there, when I
Yeah.
felt that I belong, is that the question?
No, at first not getting selected.
Oh yes. Well, we just touched on it just now. I mean, I knew that. In my case, I think being part of the Canadian squad, there's only one team. I could leave, I could sit out, I could go and compete for another country, but I had no plans or intention on doing that because what it was going to do is take away timelines and opportunities.
Mhm.
So for me, it was very important to assess what it is I need to get done and get back in, knowing that I belonged, and then also understanding that the person that I have to prove to is not any outside source, but myself. So I needed to make sure that I'm comfortable.
Was there a temptation at any point to slow down, doubt, pivot away?
Never. There is. I think that when you're training and when you're practicing, because you've now gotten the discipline of doing something that's painful every day, you do understand that there can't be any doubt. You have to live your journey, and you have to see exactly where it is that your goals are. So no, I mean, definitely no doubt. Definitely no doubt.
You talked a little bit about how after that setback, all the adjustments that you made to then help yourself get a better advantage for that next step. Walk me through that feeling of emotion that you had when you found out you then were selected.
Well, wow, yeah, tough. I think that, well, in sport, especially in an individual sport, knowing that you belong is not from being selected on a team. It's knowing that you can compete with and beat the greatest, in my case, the greatest of that generation. I knew I belonged, and I was going to be the greatest when, I speak about it in my book, Undisputed, and I also speak about it quite a bit when I'm on the road. There's a competition in Rome, Italy, and I came in. I was nervous as hell. I didn't know, what I was going to do, but I knew that I was fearless, and I knew that I was going to take full advantage of this opportunity. And I had an incredible start, and was leading the race. I was leading the race again with some of the greatest men of that generation. And at 90 meters, at about 80 meters, I decided to look over this. I was leading, and I decided to look over to see where they were. In looking over, being in first place, the mistake that I made was clearly my body had to slow down to adjust to see exactly where my competitions and rivals were. And I ended up coming third. So I crossed the line, I slammed my fist on the track, and I realized one thing, that if I wanted to be successful, I had to stay in my lane, and I had to be focused on what I needed to get done. Because if I tend to gaze at someone else, then I'm inviting them to join me on the podium. And if I'm trying to be the greatest, then the attempt has to be that I stay in my lane, I stay focused, and I look at my goal, and my goal should have been the finish line and not where my competitors were.
What does stay in your lane look like for organizations or people working in organizations?
I think that there's a lot of times people don't spend a lot of time improving themselves. Again, we talk about validations, we talk about distractions, we talk about a whole lot of things coming from all places. I'm a father, so these are the things that I have to preach to my kids also. There's always going to be distractions. There's always going to be people and noise, and especially now we live in a place where there's a generation that's getting educated by sound bites, and so again, you have access the same way there are those very sound bites. You have access to incredible education, to very, very smart people, and environments that nurture this. So those are the three things I always try to tell kids, and it's the same things I'll tell an incredible CEO. You can't always find. I mean, I have a company that it's a sports app, and it's a sports app about communities that play the same sport. And so if you want to play paddleball, for instance, you're going to find a community with incredible players, or you're going to find a community that have recreation, and you can go into that community and you can find a next community that people want to be successful. So I think that, again, you always got to gravitate to those people that are going to challenge you to be your greatest self.
Speaking of the CEOs that you have worked with, what has been some of the more, I guess, surprising conversations you've had to have with some of them, where you've heard maybe their doubts, their expectations that you thought were maybe a little different?
You know what? I think probably the most often, anyone that's in leadership has put a lot of work in to get there. And I think that there are times that I have these conversations with some of these incredible leaders that they're thinking about the most strange and complicated things. When in fact, what they need to do is to dial it back and it's almost like bringing it right down to the very core again and simplifying everything. Because, in teaching, if I'm teaching someone how to run fast and they're very good at it, you really, for me, the thing that I want to do is scale it and get it to a place where it's bare bones again, where you really have to think about putting one foot in front of the other. And I think that in a lot of these leadership situations, there are a lot of incredible smart people that complicates things just because, again, of noise or distractions or expectations or goals, or the bottom line. When in fact, what you should just do is simplifying it and then slowly moving it forward.
What is your best tip to start recognizing a need to simplify?
Well, number one, to breathe. Right, that's the number one thing. I think that it's like understanding that, being very patient. So I mean, like again, you're talking to a man that that ran 44 kilometers an hour, and I'm talking to you about breathing and being patient. And although you see this incredible velocity during a race, I can tell you every step that I take. I can tell you every breath that I take. I can tell you exactly how my diaphragm was, where my hand position, shin placement, hip is. And so in any situation, I would break that down I would break it down to relaxing, breathing, and simplifying everything that you need to do to go forward.
We're going to jump into our last game of the air elemental segment, where
Okay.
it's called Flip the Script. So I'm going to read a statement, and it might be perceived as negative, or it's not, and you
Okay.
can completely agree with it. But if you perceive this statement as negative, the ask would be is that you flip it into something that you would like it to say instead.
Okay.
Okay? So the first statement is, if it's meant to happen, it will happen.
Oh, definitely not negative. Oh, definitely not negative. I mean, I'd probably say the same way. If it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. I mean, again, the caveat is, have you prepared yourself and put the work in? So that's definitely not negative. But then again, I'm also an optimist, so I don't know what you're going to say to me that's going to be that's going to be perceived as negative. But yes,
I'll
let's
try my
do it,
best.
man.
I'll try my best. Okay, here we go.
Let's rock, man. Let's rock.
I just need more time before I start.
Ooh, that's negative.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. Today's day one of my journey.
Oh, I like that. It's a good flip.
Yeah. Today, I mean, I'm just saying that there can't be doubt planted. And I think that's what that statement is. So today's day one.
Let's try this one. I wasn't given the opportunity.
Ooh, I wasn't given the opportunity. I didn't take the opportunity.
Yeah, I like that. I was thinking that in my head too. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't take the opportunity. I mean, but it's again, all of us, every single human being has the opportunity to control what they do. So yeah, take the opportunity.
Some people just have more talent.
Ooh, man, you're getting me now. See, I shouldn't have said that. Some people just didn't give me the opportunity. Is that what you said?
No, some people just have more talent.
Oh, some people. Oh, ooh. I haven't put the work in.
Oh, I like that. Yep. Last one here. I'll go all in when I know it will work.
Oh no, I'll go all in when you know it will work.
Yep.
I'm going to flip that around.
What are we going to
It will
flip it
work
to?
when I go all in.
Hey, totally flipped it. I like it. What a good way to end that. We're going to jump in from the adversity we face to those change actions we just started to make and flip the script. So we'll jump into our third element of ripples of change. You have talked about shifting the mindset of Canadian sport before. What
Yes.
was the mindset before, and what are we trying to shift it to?
Well, I think that when I got to on the team side, Canada was very much happy to be their country. We're glad to be a participant, and we didn't have to be a nice country anymore. I think there's a huge difference between nice and being good. We always talk about, like, I always, sometimes speak about being a good guy and being a nice guy.
Mhm.
And Canada was always the nice guy. I mean, which simply means that you can be pushed aside and you'll apologize for it, which is, they always talk about Canada apologizing. And I think that at some point you could be a good guy. So I know that the leadership that I brought and the mindset that I brought to the Canadian team was that we could be good people, but we're not going to back down from anybody. And so the mindset for it, so it was, we've got to put the work in. We've got to be fearless. We've got to know that we belong. So ultimately for me, it was just deciding that Canada was no longer going to be nice, but we're going to be good.
Mm-hmm. With that, who were we being nice to that we needed to just be good to?
I think we're being nice to everybody. Well, in sports, certainly, again, when I look at the Olympic squad, here's the thing. I think we were being good guys in hockey. Let's just say that. I am the elbows up guy, and we never. And then in other sports, I mean, in the Olympic team, people are like, you're scared of someone walking in the door, and I think that what I always loved about hockey and Canada is that our expectations are, if we're sending a if we're sending a Batum team to the World Championships, or a junior team, or the Olympic team, or whatever, we expect that we're going to go there and win gold. And I think that mindset didn't translate into all other sports. I think that there were a lot of athletes that loved the idea of just wearing the uniform.
Mm-hmm.
But I never thought that. I thought that ultimately for me, the greatest celebration that I'm going to have is to be serenaded by our national anthem in front of the entire world, because I'm the greatest on earth. And so my mindset was very different. So again, like I said, the hockey mentality I just brought the hockey mentality to what I thought we should do in every single other sport across, and also, our attitude in business, our attitude and all of that, because there's several business people that I've spoken to that have had incredible startup in Canada, that's gotten worldwide success. And so they're nuggets that I'll sometimes have conversations with those very same CEOs and founders about, and they're like, hey man, one thing you taught me, whether it was the 150 versus Michael Johnson at the Sky Dome in 1997, or something else that I might said in an interview, they said, you taught me that it didn't really matter, and that coming from Canada does not limit you to just being a national champion. You want to be the greatest on earth, you should be the greatest on earth.
Mm-hmm. So what does that winning system actually look like?
Well, you know what? It's I think that ultimately physical tools are very important. Genetics are very important. Putting in the work, being very disciplined, understanding your goals, knowing your goals, seeing your rivals and competition, and be fearless.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that the only person that can get in your way is you. And whenever it is that you set your goals, You're either going to go over it, under it, and if it's standing in your way, if someone's standing in your way, go through it.
Let's jump into our game for this segment. Let's get into quick tips. This one's not really game style, I guess. I'm going to ask you a question, and in your, again, quickest reply possible, I want your tip for my question.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
So what is the first step someone should take if they want to pursue their goal right now?
Self-discipline.
Self-discipline. In what regard?
Well, I don't think that if you have not prepared yourself to put the work in to get to that goal, then you're going to fail.
What's one thing people need to stop doing immediately?
Being distracted by people who have absolutely nothing to do with them and their lives.
How do you stay consistent when motivation drops?
Well, you have to stay focused on the goal at hand.
How do you handle setbacks without losing momentum?
Ooh. Maybe understand the reason why you set that goal in the first place. And also understand, and also maybe also understand selfishly what it's going to feel like when you get there.
Yeah.
And you're only ever going to know what that feels like when you get there.
Yeah.
When you get there.
And what's one habit that separates elite performers from everyone else?
Ooh, man, maybe it's back. Ooh. Mental and psychological preparation.
So bring me to that, because this is what separates the 1% from the 99%, right? It's not their talent. It's more mindset. It's discipline.
100%.
What do the 1% do that others don't?
Well, I mean, I think that they incorporate all the things that we've been talking about this entire hour. I mean, I think that if you want a goal and you're easily distracted, then that goal is going to go by the wayside. If you are not in a room or in a place where someone's constantly challenging you in a positive way, then that's also going to go by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if your focus is lacking, like understanding that there are things, you know, when I speak to, again, business leaders, and I'm like, well, you need to get on a diet. And they're like, a diet? I said, yeah, diet. You have to eat every day. So I want you to understand the discipline of, if you're treating your body like a temple, what are you going to do to nourish that temple?
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to hydrate, and then you got to get 8 to 10 hours sleep, whatever it is, right? So I think that fundamentally, again, you get back to the simplest form of where it is that you're attempting to go, and you start with those little things.
Bring it back to those basics, right?
It's got to come back to the basics. Has to be.
I'm going to say a statement to you here, and I want to know, what does it actually mean to you, and what role did it play in your success?
Okay.
It takes a village.
Wow. Tough, big. It's what I've been preaching. My culture is Jamaican, and that's actually a saying. It takes. I think that the foundation is very good. So parents are very good, or people that you feel that offer you parenting. I'm talking about as a child, as you grow up. But you need people that are cheering you on. Hence the reason why you can't list the noise. Hence the reason why you have to be disciplined, and hence the reason why you have to be focused. You always need someone. Even in the corporate setting, you can have a corporate family. And if you're trying to IPO, you're trying to sell, you're trying to exit, you're trying to do whatever, it does take a village. It takes everybody doing their part. It's kind of like the perfect relay. Anytime the baton is the success, and it's a definition of the success. And that baton has to pass through 4 hands in order to celebrate on top of the podium where you're getting serenaded by the national anthem, which means that you're the greatest, which means that you're ultimately is where your success lies. And so if the baton represents a success, then that's what the village is. And the village has to, pass that baton, and that baton might be a person. Gently pass them on and motivate them and criticize them and hug them and cheer them on. That will allow them to be successful, I think.
What a great analogy and way to bring that statement into what it looks like, not only in the sports world, but in a business world as well. And with
For
that,
sure.
Everything that we've talked about is going to bring about decision-making. So let's jump into that last element and spark or burn.
Okay.
All right, we are kicking off our last element with the hardest game of the interview. This is called Final Answer. Champion format, 2 words. You just pick one and the winner stays, okay?
Okay. All right.
Okay. Talent or work ethic?
Ooh, work ethic.
Work ethic or discipline?
Discipline.
Discipline or sacrifice?
Oh, man. Sacrifice.
Sacrifice or confidence?
Ooh, confidence every time.
Confidence or consistency?
Man, you need consistency. Confidence. I'm going back on that one.
Confidence or preparation?
Preparation.
Preparation or resilience?
Preparation.
Preparation or focus?
Okay. Preparation.
Preparation or accountability?
Ooh, preparation.
And preparation or execution?
Ooh, execution.
Execution is your final answer.
Yes.
Why did that word win for you?
Because it's an action item based on all the other words that you've mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
You have to you can be disciplined, focused. You can have all of the aforementioned words and not execute. Then you failed. So it's execution.
One of the things that you say too is you consistently and constantly have to be open to growing and evolving.
Oh.
Why is that a non-negotiable?
Because I think that any human being that stays stagnant will rot. I mean, let's think about this. I like old cars, and if you can have the greatest, phenomenal, car that you've restored, and it's just parked in the garage.
Uh-huh.
It's of no use to you, and at no point can you just take it out and drive it around if there's not consistency in driving it and tinkering with it and changing things. And so the human body is very much the same way. We can sit down and spend a whole lot of time just talking, but it's meaningless if you don't get up and exercise. It's meaningless if you don't get up and eat. It's meaningless if you don't sleep. It's meaningless if you're not motivated by people, or you're not challenged by people, or challenged by things, or the environment, or just the weather. So if you're not evolving every day in everything, then you're going to be stagnant.
Mm-hmm. Donovan, one of the closing traditions of the show is my previous guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who they are or what they're bringing to the table or what we're talking about. And the question left for you is, what is a need that you have in your life? And what supports do you use in life that increase your agency?
Oh, that's deep. What is a need that I have?
Yeah, what is a need you have in your life, and what supports do you use in your life that increase your agency?
Wow. Okay. The need that I have is the ability to be more patient, or the need to be more patient as a father, as a businessman, and I'm still working through that. And I think that, funny enough, I go back, I speak to my old coach, and it's not about track. It really is just about, being a man, and understanding that being a dad and evolving at the pace that we're evolving in this planet. That I have to adjust quickly, which means that I have to, my patience is challenged often. So I look back to my, to my support system, to that village, to the expert in that village that offers an opinion that I value, that will allow me to become more patient.
And what is a question you would like to leave for my next guest?
Oh, okay. If you're not achieving the goals that you want to achieve today, what is your excuse?
I like that. I'll make sure that they get that. If this episode challenged you, don't just think about it, act on it. Because the difference between where you are and where you want to be is what you do next. Donovan Bailey, thank you so much for joining me on the Elemental Educator podcast. I would like you to give you a chance here to just share with our listeners, where can people connect with you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This was quite fun this morning. Didn't know what to expect, but this is awesome. So I have a book out. So Undisputed, available in audiobook and at any bookstore around. We have, Running Things, Donovan Bailey Running Things, which is my podcast. And I could be reached on all social platforms, the official Donovan Bailey.
Thanks for sticking around to the end of the show. If you have feedback, a suggestion, or just want to start a conversation, fire off an email to tyler@elementaleducator.com. I actually read them. And if this episode sparks something, leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It helps more leaders find the show. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, where I put out additional content. I'll see you next time, same time, same place.